about them, it's the first generation that's grown up post 9/11. So they grew up amidst global insecurity, financial issues, an awareness of the environment and depleting resources. And the big one, they were wired from the crib.
All of your wind has gone, and all of the paths you've drawn have sunk to the ocean sand where no one can see. You stand, don't let the dark embrace, cower the dreams you chase under the rust and blood. Don't let yourself give up.
And what's neat about
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Matt Blaustein, and welcome to the ALLHEART Podcast. The intention in this podcast is quite clear. It's meant for a few things: for people to learn, for people to share, and for people to be open. The ALLHEART Podcast existence is intended to provide an accepting environment for all, whether they be interviewer, interviewee, or audience. Now, in 2019, in December, coronavirus was discovered in Wuhan, China. Since then, millions of people have passed from the pandemic, and hundreds of millions have been left with lasting impacts from the disease. One of those people is Cade Heinberg, who is my guest today. So Cade, how are you doing today, before we continue?
I'm doing all right. Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you.
All right.
All right. So, let's start it off. Just to give some background about Cade, you want to give yourself some background about who you are, what you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Cade Heinberg, 20 years old. I go to school, same school as Matt, UW-Madison. I'm currently a junior, and I'm studying computer science. My intended graduation is probably in I think 2024 now, so 5 years total. If I did that math right, I wouldn't trust my math though right now, but yep, that's a little bit about me. If you want me to start with my COVID stuff, I could.
Yeah, for sure. I'll start it off. So before the pandemic started, did you have any health issues at all?
So before the pandemic started, I really only had one thing that kind of was a chronic health issue, and that was hypertension, which is basically high blood pressure, but that was being treated with medication and was pretty much normal. So nothing really leading me to believe that getting COVID would do something like this to me.
Totally understand that. So what was your attitude towards COVID before you got it yourself, in the aspect that a lot of people had differences in opinion about it, how people were taking precautions, and what they chose to do about it?
Right, so before I got COVID, I chose to social distance. I didn't go to a single party like many of my fellow college students still were doing. I pretty much took up isolating in my apartment with my roommate over there. But yeah, so I took a pretty, what would the word be? A pretty,
Hardline approach, I'd say.
yeah. I wore a mask everywhere I went pretty much, except for outside. But, I wasn't paranoid about it because I was young and I thought even if I do get it, it probably won't be a big deal. But I still didn't want to get it because I don't like being sick.
Completely understand. So on that topic, did you really ever think you were at risk for like severe COVID symptoms?
No, never thought that I would end up, I mean, I wasn't hospitalized. I had a mild case. I never thought that I would have long-term symptoms or anything along these lines. I've had the flu and other viruses many times in my life, and none of them really did anything like this to me.
All right. So what was your gut reaction when you learned you got COVID? I believe it was November 2020, correct?
Right. I got sick November 2020. My gut reaction was instant fear because not only, I mean, the stigma around it, you know, but just the symptoms were coming up quickly, and it was a lot at once. A lot of new things I'd never dealt with, like smell and taste loss, and um, just a whole range of symptoms that things that everyone has already talked about and seen.
Totally understand that. So did you, just after you were diagnosed, was there anything that you did as like sort of a gut reaction to kind of like make sure that you would like have mild symptoms? In the
Um,
aspect like when you had it, like what did you like? Did you get any specific medication for it or what?
no, when I got sick, well, I mean, my infection was mild. It never really gotten that too bad. My fever was never too bad. So I never took any steroids or anything, even over the counter for it. The only thing I did was rest and eat healthy, but I mean, I usually do that. So it's just seemed like it was the luck of the draw for me. Nothing I really did.
Right. So after your mild symptoms, when did some of the longer term things start to come into play?
Yeah, so my acute infection, I want to say lasted probably 3 weeks after getting sick. So this was up until like middle of December when I started to feel better. And then there was a week where I was like, okay, I'm coming out of the sickness, as you usually do after getting sick. But then all of a sudden, around 4 weeks after my initial infection, I started to have reoccurring symptoms again. And I was like, I thought I beat this. So I got tested or retested multiple times. I was tested negative, was very confused. And a bunch of new symptoms actually that I hadn't had were starting. Some of them being increased heart rate. It's currently 130 right now while talking. It'll go to even 150 even walking around my apartment, things like that of that nature. And if you're not familiar with heart rates, that's very, very bad for a 20-year-old. So that's when it about started. It was about 4 weeks after I got initially sick. And since then, there hasn't been a day where I haven't had these symptoms.
All right. So after nearly a full year since your diagnosis, what has changed in your life? There are a few different things in particular. So I want to focus on mental health to start things out. Like, how are you doing mentally? How has this affected you?
Mentally, I'm in a place where I really didn't think I would ever go because I'm a very determined and hardworking individual that does not want to say no or uh, do less than like my peers are doing. So mentally, it's been really hard to kind of have to sit back and just do nothing because I can't do much. So my mental health has definitely struggled a little bit. Just trying to stay positive, especially since it's been a year living like this, and I'm not really seeing any improvements. So
Is
it's
there anything you do in particular to try to alleviate some of those mental health symptoms? Anything that you do, like maybe go on walks or something like that? Or is there anything in particular?
yeah, for the mental health, I try to do. Well, I mean, I do deep breathing every single day, multiple times per day, more than I could have ever imagined me doing. And I try to go on a walk at least once a day, but sometimes I'm even too tired to walk down my sidewalk for 10 minutes. So sometimes I don't go for a walk. Um, so it even makes it harder to deal with that mental health aspect because I can't do the things I'd normally do to blow off steam, like go for a workout, cook a nice meal, go do something fun with my friends. All I can really do is sit and try to change my attitude without actually doing anything. But I've tried to develop some healthier things. Like for example, I bought a Rubik's cube, And that's something that doesn't take very much energy. And if I'm ever like bored, I'll just solve a Rubik's Cube. And, it's just things that just to pass the time, I guess, because that's what I have. It's a lot of time on my hands.
So on the topic of walks and going outside, I just want to go into like physical health for a bit. So mainly on the topic of exercising, how's it affected your ability to exercise?
Yeah, non-existent, really. Um, I cannot exercise. I can go on little walks, and if I try to push it beyond that, I'll be bedbound pretty much for a couple days afterwards. It's like the fatigue that comes on after I do any sort of mental or physical exertion is like unlike any fatigue I've ever experienced in my life. And everyone I've talked to that is dealing with the long haul or symptoms says the same thing, that it's not like a normal tiredness, like, oh, groggy, getting through the day. It's like sucking like every ounce of energy out of your body and breaking all your bones, and you're in bed. And that can even come from doing 30 minutes of work on a laptop. In fact, I'm starting to get it right now, but I have to get this out, so I'm going to get it out. So exercise, non-existent. Can't do it. I used to do it multiple times per week before I got sick. I used to go swimming, running, but haven't been able to for years. So
How's it also affected your diet pertaining to your physical health?
like what I'm eating?
In the aspects of what you're eating, any supplements you're using, etc.
Oh yeah. I've I've had a really hard time figuring out my diet. I've never had food intolerances before getting sick or food allergies, but now since getting sick, I seem to have a bunch of food intolerances and a bunch of food allergies, and GI issues I've never had. For example, I'll have months of just continued upset stomach, diarrhea, to be lack of better words,
Mhm.
and it's been extremely hard figuring out what foods are causing that. And so yeah, my diet has been pretty bland. No seasoning, no salt, just like the bare minimum, just meats, vegetables, and like potatoes, really.
So is it
Um,
somewhat of a question of did COVID impede your like gastrointestinal system in a way where your tolerances are kind of changed?
yeah, it seems that it changed the way I respond to food. It almost seems like my immune system just does not know what to attack anymore, like what's safe and what isn't. So it just seems like it sees a piece of food and it's like attack, attack. And then my whole body, I'll feel tired, my heart will be racing, I'll have upset stomach, nausea, and it's been going on for a year. If I eat something right now, like for let's say a pickle or something, that's one of the foods that triggers it. I'll be in bed for an hour to 2 hours just from eating like that because my immune system will just go crazy. And not to mention, I still can't smell or taste really. So that's been a year. So I don't even have any motivation really to eat because it makes me feel sick and it doesn't taste or smell like anything. So food has become a chore for me, and I don't look forward to it at all.
I'm sorry to hear that.
It is what it
Um,
is.
what about social health in a way? Because I have to imagine with the physical health and mental health combining of the things that it's done to it, social health has probably been impeded as well.
Yeah. I've actually found a couple of groups online that of kids also going through the same thing. So they've kept me connected at least with people, because it has affected my social health with like a lot of my friends that are on campus and at home, just not having the energy to do things and um, keep up with like what everyone's doing. It's been very hard. So yeah, I it's hard to get out and do things when you don't have the energy, especially when you don't have the energy to do. Like it's a trade-off. Like I can either hang out with my friends and spend my energy there, or I can spend my energy doing my homework and doing the dishes, you know? Like it's not I can't do both anymore. I have to make a choice.
So in a way, you have to pick and choose where your energy goes, in
Yeah.
totality, essentially, day to life. Has it gotten to a point, can I ask, has it gotten to a point where you have to kind of pick and choose between like doing maybe work for class and maybe like eating something or like messaging someone socially? Has it gotten to that point?
Most definitely. Like very luckily, I'm only in 2 classes right now. I was able to enroll part-time, and both of my professors have been very accommodating to that. But yeah, there's times where it's like, okay, I'm either going to do my homework assignment right now, or I'm going to take a shower. And it's like, it's a choice I have to make. And it's a really like dehumanizing choice that I can't necessarily do both of those things anymore because I don't have the energy. And I think dehumanizing is a good word for it, because um, that's just how it feels to me. Not being able to do what I want anymore. It's kind of just doing the bare minimum to like continue going, you know?
Absolutely understand that. I feel like would it be too much of a statement to say that it kind of feels like COVID and its like long-term effects have kind of ruled over what you can and can't do, in the way that like the whole aspect of being dehumanized is that it's kind of making your choices for you and you have to kind of go along with it.
Yeah,
Would you agree with that concept?
I agree. I have no control.
Okay. How's it affected your emotional health overall?
I mean, I'm staying pretty positive. Um, you know, there's points where it gets rough and I get emotional and upset, but overall I'm staying pretty positive and I have like a good outlook on things. Um, but yeah, it definitely has put a lot into perspective in my life.
Has it made you rethink anything in your life, going through all this stuff?
Mm, not sure what you mean.
Just in general, has it made you like reevaluate anything about your future or currently what your day, like by day to day,
Um,
I mean like what you're looking forward to doing, on say breaks and stuff like that.
yeah, well, like, I mean, I've had to rethink my relationships with people, relationships with family, my prospects for the future, with jobs, um, and taking out loans for school. You know, like it's it's really a very confusing thing because I don't know when it's going to go away. So it's been very hard to plan for the future, and it's been very hard to make plans with friends, even for short-term things, like you're saying, like on breaks. You know, like because I can't do what I used to be able to do with my friends. I can't go out and go to a party and like stand all night and have fun. I can't do those sorts of things anymore. And it's really hard just having to keep feeling like I'm explaining myself. Um, and that takes energy too. I don't know. I kind of lost track of what I was saying there, but yeah.
Well, if there's one thing that you would want others around you who have like probably either A, been asking you what's going on with you, or B, asking why you can't show up to things, or C, asking, why this is all happening to you. If there's anything you could do to help them understand, what would it be? Because I can't imagine the amount of times that you've talked to them, telling them the same story over and over. What is one thing that you would want them to understand more than anything?
Why would I make this up? Why would I want to pretend to do this at 20 years old? And like, I have been through more in my life, even before this, than any 20-year-old that I knew. I've dealt with chronic pain my whole life. I don't really think that that was an indicator that this happened, but I've dealt with chronic pain for several years. And like, I know what it's like living with something that's chronically like this. And I'm a tough kid, you know? I'm just, why would I make this up? It just doesn't make sense to me why people are like, oh, you should try working out and that sort of thing. It's like, no, I've tried everything. I've tried working out. I've tried changing my diet. I've tried different supplements and I tried going to doctors, and there's no one has an answer. I don't have an answer. And I'm sorry it's going like this, but I need your support right now, and I don't need people.
You don't need the
talking.
questioning.
I don't
You
need
don't
the
need
questioning,
Yeah.
and I don't need the projecting of like what someone has been through. Like, oh, I've been blah 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 one time, and I had to do this to get through it. Like, it's not the same thing at all. That's really another thing I don't appreciate too much.
I fully understand that. Do you think people, mainly young adults, are wary enough of the potential impacts COVID can have on them?
No, not at all. Which I think should really be changed. And I've tried my best, but it seems like, I've tried making posts on, for example, our subreddit. Reddit is an app, like a forum, where you can post things for the viewers that don't know. And there's a forum for our school, and I've posted a few posts about it, just saying, hey, be aware of this, fellow students, it's a thing. Like, and I just, most of the time, just get negative comments saying to stop fear mongering and things. So anytime I've tried to raise awareness, it usually is just met with backlash, which is weird to me, because if someone was coming to me and I was healthy and they were saying they were having prolonged symptoms, why would the first thing in their head be to question them? I'd be like, geez, yeah, I'm gonna look this up and I'm gonna listen to you. And I've always been like that. I just don't get where the ignorance comes from. But it is a thing of youth, not having experience with people that are chronically ill, whether it's like a relative or something. I think that it's just a lack of experience, that they think that they're invincible and that they've never seen it, so why would it happen to them?
I fully understand that. On the topic of kind of socializing and this overall level of ignorance by most people, does it, like, for lack of a better word, does it make you paranoid in social situations at this point?
Depends. Most of the time, yes, because it makes me feel like I don't have control over the situation at all, because I guess I'm worried about being reinfected. So, because if I got reinfected, it'd probably make this worse or prolong it. So, yeah, I feel like it's a very daunting thing to have to go in person and even hang out with my friends, because I don't know how safe they've been, and I don't know how safe people at the grocery store have been either, or classes. So, yeah, as things kind of open up more, it's really making it harder for me to go out more.
I understand that. We've spoken a little bit about it, but how has COVID impacted your career and school prospects? So I want to hear about school prospects first, if that's possible.
Yeah, well, I still intend to graduate in probably 5 years. Not 5 years from now, but 5 years total. So another 3 years, because I've already done 2 years, so 3 more years. But I intend to graduate with the degree I came here to get, which is computer science. I was supposed to be looking for internships this fall and hopefully setting some up for the summer, but I'm not going to do that in this condition because I just don't feel like I can really be my best self or put in that much time to do that. So I don't feel like I can work. Honestly, I just don't feel like I can work. So for now, I think I'm going to stay part-time. I'll probably go part-time next semester. And then hopefully I'll be able to go full-time again for those last 2 years. But if not, then it is what it is.
What about as far as your career prospects? So you did talk a little about computer science. Would you be pursuing a job opportunity in the future that would be likely remote, or would you hope to get back to being more regularly involved in person?
I mean, I'm fine being in person. Like, I'm not going to lock myself, in a hole or something. I'm fine with being in person. I'm fine with people that don't want to be in person too. But as long as I can protect myself, like as long as I can take the precautions, I'm vaccinated, I can wear a good mask and N95, social distance. Sure, I'd love to be in person. I miss socializing. So yeah, I would probably seek out something in person if I could, but I don't know how I'm going to be feeling at that point. It's a couple of years from now, and hopefully I won't be this affected still.
Well, on the idea of not really knowing the future as far medical wise, how's your experience been with doctors, and have they been able to give you any idea of what's going on or offer any insight?
Not really. Um, it has been a very uphill battle with the medical community for the last year. I feel like 90% of the doctors I've talked to don't really believe me or don't believe that long-term symptoms are possible and just have kind of dismissed me and said, oh, your tests are fine, there's nothing wrong with you, here's an antidepressant, go work out, etc., etc. And it's that in itself, getting them to believe me is a hard part. But even when they do believe me, there's nothing they can do for me. They're like, oh yeah, we've been seeing this. There's long-term symptoms. They'll run tests on me. Everything will come back fine. No indicator of anything actually wrong. But I guess recently, within the last couple of weeks, I had to really push for this. But I was suspecting that COVID triggered an autoimmune disease in me. So I was really pushing my doctors. I was like, just get me tested, please. And a couple of them said no, but I finally found a primary care doctor to do it. And I got tested, and I tested positive for one test for autoimmune diseases, which doesn't mean I have one, but it means they found like autoantibodies, which causes autoimmune diseases. So, and I feel like that wasn't even going to happen. Like the doctors weren't going to do that. That's something I had to spend my time researching. I feel like putting my faith into the medical community right now, unfortunately, cannot be done. Like if I didn't spend all that time looking into things, I would have never gotten that test.
So basically,
And
what you're saying right now is a lot of it kind of mimics a lot that you said about regular people and the fact that they don't understand, and like you really need to continue to push so that they do understand. And so essentially what you're saying is you had to push for them to even test you for this potential condition that you would have had. And
yeah,
that I guess if there's one thing that you would kind of want from doctors, would it just be for them to have an increased level of understanding, just like you have for regular people?
I just wish they would, yeah, increase level of understanding and also just more open to like the possibility of chronic illness because they're pretending like chronic illness is not a thing, which amazes me because chronic illness has been around for as long as viruses, illnesses, mold, anything has been around, chronic illness has been something that happens. It happened after the Spanish flu. It happened after the first SARS. It happened after a bunch of viruses. It's not a new thing. So I don't understand why the doctors I'm seeing are acting like it's a new thing. So I just wish that for everyone going through this and going through anything, that, yeah, I wish doctors would be more open-minded, because we already deal with enough of that, like in our social lives and work lives. So it really
So
sucks.
in a way, you're saying that there is a stigmatization around it and around them really considering that there's like this is a real thing going on.
Yeah, I mean, it's an invisible illness, so they're like, oh, psychological, they just dismiss me. So it's kind of like the way I've had to put it is like, it's kind of like going to sell them like a used car. Is the way I kind of see it when I go to a doctor, because if they ask if I'm depressed or have anxiety, I have to be like, nope, I'm fine. Because if I say that I do have depression and anxiety, they're like, oh, let's focus on that and not all the other symptoms going on. Like, you have depression and anxiety, we got to fix that. And they don't really, it's like, I don't get why they just like kind of scapegoat everything I'm going through into that. So yeah, it's kind of like selling them a used car where I have to be like, I don't know, just hide things sort of wrong with my body to kind of like get the bigger idea across, if you know what I mean.
Don't
That makes
understand
some
that.
sense. Yeah.
So you basically need to prioritize what the biggest issue is and kind of abandon all the other stuff just for them to kind of like get to where you want them to get to.
Yeah, it's kind of like I have to like guide them into doing certain testing or referring me to certain specialists. Most of the time, they don't even refer me or do tests. They just say, oh, yeah, we don't know. And then I'm like, okay, I guess I gotta find another doctor and get on their schedule and wait 2 more months to see them. It's been a lot of waiting. It's been an uncomfortable amount of just waiting to see someone, waiting 4 or 5 months to see a doctor, and then have them tell you that, oh, you're just having migraines or something like that. It's like, it's really heartbreaking.
I don't understand that. On the topic of doctors, you did share some photos with me, so I do want to put them up here.
Yeah.
1 second, just so we can give viewers kind of an understanding of some of the stuff you're going through. So I just want you to talk about what's this? What's this device that's attached to your chest here?
Yeah, so one of my symptoms is tachycardia, which is basically elevated heart rate. Like I was saying before, my heart rate's like 130 right now talking. My normal resting heart rate's like 60. And my heart rate will just jump to like the 150s, just walking, which is very, very bad for anyone. So that's a Holter monitor device right there. And that basically just monitored my heart rate for like 72 hours. And I mean, I had tachycardia, but even though I had it, didn't do anything about it. So it was kind of just like another dead end.
100%. And so you have another photo down here, just for viewers. This is not super graphic, but it's a little graphic. So there's some rashes here. Was this directly from COVID, or was there any medical explanation to what this was?
Yeah, that's something I still get, and I get it every day. I'm kind of getting it right now. I get it on my face too. If you can kind of see these lines.
Mm-hmm.
Probably getting it on my chest right now. That's something that I've sort of had before COVID, but it was never that bad. I've seen that happen to me like maybe like 10 times in my life before COVID. It would happen like getting out of the shower, which I think is a normal thing. Get out of the shower and you have like sort of heat rash on your body. But that rash right there, I get that pretty much every single day with any sort of mental or physical exertion. And there's doctors are clueless. They don't even care. They don't want to hear about it because they'll get fixated on something else like depression or anxiety. Like there's just so many symptoms that I'm having that they don't even want to fixate on it, and it's pretty alarming to me. But I think that was my main indicator that I think I have something autoimmune, is that rash, because that's what like a lupus rash looks like. So the test I got tested for autoantibodies, and the main reason people test positive for it, it's called an ANA test. The main reason people test positive is if they have lupus, and I tested positive. So that was all me too. That was all me. No doctor made that suggestion. I actually went to a long COVID clinic and told them, I think I have an autoimmune disease, and showed him that picture that I just showed you. And he said that my logic was flawed. I was like, what? What do you mean? I was like, can we test for autoimmune diseases? And he's like, no, your logic is flawed. You don't have every symptom of an autoimmune disease, so we're not going to test you. And this
So
was
in a
at
way,
a
you
long...
could say this is, in essence, you could say this is a way of the practicer blaming the patient for something
Yeah, I
that's
don't even
incredibly
know.
unblameable.
He said that I should be better by now, and it's weird that I'm not improving when I was at a clinic for long haulers. So I was like, okay. And then I had to basically just keep moving to different doctors, and I eventually did find one to test for it. But yeah, that's the only test I've had that's come back with something, some sort of lead. But I've seen a lot of other long haulers say that they've also tested positive on that ANA, and it doesn't mean anything. They've gone to rheumatologists to get further testing, and it all comes back clean. It just seems like it's just kind of like a fluke. You know, like you have autoantibodies, but no one knows which ones they are. I don't know.
So I guess just one last question for this whole thing is, what things have you tried to make yourself feel better or treat yourself?
Yeah, I've tried many things. I still do try things. My worst symptom is fatigue, so I'm always trying to treat that. And insomnia. Some nights I'll sleep 4 hours. You know, like multiple nights in a row, 4 hours. It doesn't matter how tired I am. I'll barely sleep. I'll wake up extremely tired. Even if I do sleep 8 to 10 hours, I'm tired. So what I've been trying is taking rest throughout the day. So I'll do something for an hour, 2 hours, and I'll rest for 15 minutes. And that's not resting, you know, watching TV or on my phone. That's closing my eyes and breathing for 10 or 15 minutes, just sitting there. And I do that probably almost 10 times a day. Just sit there and breathe. And the amount of boredom is incredible because it's very bad. But yeah, I do that. I've tried a lot of diet changes. Like I said, I'm following this very, like, it's kind of like a keto diet, like paleo now, because I really can't eat anything else. It'll flare up my GI. I've tried a ton of meditation. I've tried yoga. I've tried a bunch of supplements. I've tried some medications from my doctors. The only thing that really seems to be helping is just rest. But even doing too much rest kind of makes it worse. Because
It's almost an over-reliance on it, and it makes your body exhausted as a result, I'm guessing.
Well, yeah, I mean, anybody would be tired laying in bed a bunch. But it's also like, I just don't feel like I'm doing anything if I'm laying in bed. So I really just want to get up and do things. But then that makes me tired. So it's kind of just like always this back and forth battle.
I guess one addition there is, I know you just got a cat recently, so
Yeah.
just tell me a little bit about that. So how's that going for you?
Yeah, that's been a really, I was worried about having the energy to take care of her. but I think it paid off nicely because it has boosted my mood, and my mood being improved has definitely given me some more energy and like given me more of like a positive outlook when I wake up in the morning. You know, I'm not waking up in the morning and having nothing to look forward to. I wake up in the morning and my cat's laying on me. So that kind of like, I do think that there's a really huge thing with like emotional support animals, and I'm very grateful that I have her because it has made my life better, improved my quality of life for sure.
All right, so I just want to close things out here. Before I ask for your last words for this interview, I just want to say thank you so much for joining me, Cade. Obviously, I've known you since freshman year, so that's well over 2 years at this point. But knowing what you've been through and where you are now and everything that you've done to combat it, sticking up for yourself, it's really inspiring. It's really inspiring, and I'm sure people who are viewing right now can say the same. So all I would say for that is just like keep pushing,
Yeah.
because it's nothing short of inspiring. So I was wondering if you had any like last words for this interview, if there's anything that you just want people to have a lasting impression of.
The best way to avoid this is to not get sick. You know, I'm not going to get political or anything, but yeah,
Yep.
just take care of yourselves. I had no indicator really that this could happen to me at 20 years old. I don't know. Just take care of yourselves, and I'll be all right. You know, I'm keeping my head up. I'm working through this. Yeah, it sucks, but you know, sometimes you get handed a shitty deck of cards at life. You know, you just got to try to play them right. So that's what I'm doing.
That's a great way to close things out. For everyone who's joined us tonight, thank you so much for joining us on the inaugural episode for the All Heart Podcast. I hope you've enjoyed learning more about Cade's story, and just what he's been through. And I hope that you're just as inspired by his journey as I am. This is Matt Blaustein signing off from the All Heart Podcast. Have a nice night, everyone.